All right, Josh, it's time for the official airing of grievances. I have a couple I jotted down. I sent it over to you, so you probably know which direction I'm going to go. And this is my first one. I briefly talked about it recently, just talking about Dave Roberts saying he didn't lose the series. However, there were some bad calls in Game 3. There were some really questionable calls in Game 3, but at the end of the day, we don't know the extent of Dave and him making these decisions. We don't know if Andrew Friedman's got the walkie-talkie up there and he's saying, okay, this is what you got to do. This could have been the front office making these calls. We talked about this, Josh, when we did our postseason roster predictions for the NLDS. And if you guys listening remember, I made my very, very great case as to why Lance Lynn should not be on the NLDS roster. I talked about the Dodgers needing only a three-man rotation, which they pretty much agreed to because Kershaw was going to go game 4. But with Lance Lynn not going in game 3, you have Ryan Pepiot game 3. The guy that was fantastic over the final 2 months of the season. The guy that was your best starter over the final 2 months of the season. The guy that was one of the 5 best starters in the National League over the final 2 months of the season. You go to Ryan Pepiot for game 3, you leave Lance Lynn off because you don't need him, and then you have a guy like Ryan Yarbrough on your roster. A guy like Ryan Yarbrough that can eat multiple innings, that has been great for the Dodgers since being brought over. Instead, Josh, Ryan Yarbrough left off the roster. Lance Lynn starts game 3, and Ryan Pepiot did not throw a single pitch. The arguably the best pitcher on the Dodgers the last month and a half, 2 months of the season, did not throw one pitch in the NLDS. I don't know what the hell the Dodgers were thinking. Prior to game 3, they said Ryan Pepiot is in the plans for game 3, and we never saw him. Instead, once Lance Lynn got lit up, it turned into a full-on bullpen game with guys like Michael Grove getting in over Ryan Pepiot. I don't know what the Dodgers were doing. They were overthinking it. By saying Lance Lynn is the only option to start game 3, I thought was idiotic because he's not the only option. You literally have a fantastic option in Ryan Pepiot. So first off, that is my issue with the whole thing, Josh, is that Ryan Pepiot just got completely left out. He's the only guy I think that didn't pitch for the Dodgers. But number 2, Dave even said, I'm going to treat this like a game 7. We're treating game 3 like a game 7, which it was for the Dodgers because if you lose, you go home. I got no problem with Lance Lynn going out there for the 3rd inning, but the second he allowed that very first home run to Perdomo, Ryan Pepiot should have been warming in the Dodgers' pen. Now, I know it happened very quickly, so maybe after he allows the home run, you send Mark Pryor out there for a mound meeting, you buy some time, you let Ryan Pepiot warm up. But at that point, you got to have Ryan Pepiot ready to come in. At the time of the second home run, which I don't think was the next at bat, I think it was 2 at bats later because he got a second out or something like that. I forget how exactly the inning shaped out. The second that second home run happened, Lance Lynn should have been done. He should have been out. It looked like he was starting to fall apart, but instead he was left in. He was left in then for a 3rd home run, and then after the 4th home run was finally when the Dodgers cut their ties and turned things over to I think Caleb Ferguson. Lance Lynn should have been on the shortest leash. This is a guy that allowed the most home runs in all of baseball. I think he officially allowed the 5th most home runs in a season in baseball history. It's literally do or die. And you're leaving out Lance Lynn out there to allow homer after homer after homer. I don't understand what the reasoning was. I don't know why Ryan Pepiot was just left out of the equation. And I don't know why Lance Lynn was left out there to completely die on the mound. It blows my mind. That's pretty much my only major issue with the entire series, Josh, the way he was managed, the way he was handled, because especially in that situation, Lance Lynn should not have started for the Dodgers. He should not have been on the roster. It should have been Ryan Pepiot. I'm going to let you talk so I can get my heart rate back down to a normal rate.
Yeah, well, in my predictions, I had Lance Lynn on the roster, but I also had Pepiot and Ryan Yarbrough. So for me, that's where my questions kind of rise is where was Pepiot? He was not involved at all. Didn't throw a pitch. And then also, like, you look at game 1, that is the perfect Ryan Yarbrough game.
Mm-hmm.
Your starting pitcher doesn't get it done. You put in Ryan Yarbrough to limit the damage over a long period of time for a reliever, and wasn't there. And the one thing I'll say is the bullpen was okay in that game. The bullpen
They were
was
fantastic. They didn't allow a run.
fantastic in game 2 and fantastic in game 3.
Yeah.
So did the Dodgers need Ryan Yarbrough outside of game 1? Probably not. But I think that that's a little bit odd.
Or they could
that
have
he
used him
wasn't
in.
on the roster.
I was gonna say they could have used him in game two, but also like you said, the bullpen was nearly perfect in game two as well. But at least they
Yeah,
could have had again length in game two. But like you said, yeah, he wouldn't have necessarily been needed.
yeah, exactly. So that was one that still surprises me. I think in the grand scheme of things, it turned out to kind of be a non-factor because again, if Ryan Yarbrough's on the roster, it's not like the Dodgers win the series. It's not like they win game one. Like
Right.
it is what it is. But Pepio is one that stands out to me because I completely agree. After that first home run goes off from Lance Lynn, he's out. Go get
Yeah.
him. Go get him out of the bullpen, or go get him in the bullpen, out of the dugout, in the bullpen if he's not already there, and get him warming up. That second home run goes off, yanked. It's got to be done.
Yeah.
And that's when Ryan Pepio should come in. And I don't know, because again, like after that second home run goes off and you have Pepio come in, it's a 2-0 game probably. 2-0 game. Dodgers score 2 runs later. It's a different game.
Yeah.
It's a different game. So, and I understand that as a manager, and as a fan, you're probably thinking you want to be prepared for the next game. But at the same time, there is no next game if you lose.
You got to win this game.
You have to win.
You got to win this game.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the way that I see it. Is it's like I understand having that thought in your head, but like that at that point, it's having that thought in your head of what are we going to do if we get to game 4? Also, Kershaw hasn't been good. Bobby Miller hasn't been good. Should we use Ryan Pepio game 4? Like, I don't want to be in that position, right? I wouldn't want to be there. But the fact of the matter is that you don't get to game 4 unless you don't lose the series and get swept in disgusting, embarrassing, just decimating fashion in game 3. So you got to win that game. And I think that's the decision that should have been made. But, you know, that's one of the big gripes for me is Pepio. Ryan Yarbrough, again, like I said, I think in game 1, I was really upset that Yarbrough wasn't in. And I didn't really understand that. But really, like that really doesn't matter. But the biggest gripe that I have with that, with any of that, is the Ryan Pepio not throwing a pitch.
Yeah, I think Lauren Shahadi, who was like the sideline reporter, she said at one point during game 3, she like talked to Dave Roberts and he pretty much said, yeah, we're probably not going to use Pepio because we do need to look forward to games 4 and 5. And I'm just thinking, you need to win this game to get there. You throw all your eggs into this basket, and then if you win, you just figure out game 4. If you don't have Pepio, if you don't have Sheehan, if you don't have all these guys, you figure it out. You just hope Kershaw's able to do it. So, yeah, that whole thing, how it went down, especially that they said Ryan Pepio is in the cards and he wasn't used at all. Like, it blows my mind, Josh. He was their best pitcher. He was their best pitcher over the final 2 months. So that was awful.